thought we'd have ice here.
that I got a kick out of.
What'd you say?
I thought there'd be ice here tonight.
Yeah.
Fortunately, there's not.
There was
Roads are
some in my
dry.
driveway, but not.
Yeah.
Now, when you're,
She needs a Michael
Setting that
Bloomberg.
up.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
thing.
Yeah.
either you don't take my picture, or you make sure I got my good side, okay? Either way, you know,
Embrace
I
the
don't
podium.
care if you get the good side.
You can look right here and you'll see everybody's
You can
in.
sit there, do
Everybody's
something.
where?
Everybody's in the photo.
Oh,
Hey,
shucks.
how are you?
Everybody-
man?
Everybody's-
I thought maybe I was missing.
Everybody's there.
Proximity to the
Oh,
house,
geez,
so-
no matter where I sit, I'm gonna look bad. Yeah, okay.
That's what I'm trying
It's
to,
just,
just give a chance to
just,
Michael.
oh darn, where's my
I'm
phone?
not adding director or producer to, your call card, so, all right. 6 PM.
Sounds good.
I'm here, Tom's here, Meg's here, Barb's here,
Make it
Chuck's here,
quiet.
Kevin's here, Jim is absent tonight. Anything for public comment?
Well, this isn't actually public comment, but I just wanted to ask you if Deborah let you know that I called.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yep, thank you.
Not that it's a big deal, but it could be a big deal for somebody.
Yep.
There was some personal information that should be on.
Thank you. Supervisor comment, really quickly, we went to court for the mausoleum. And the,
And they wanna take it back?
no, quite the opposite. They are in the process of doing the, officially extinguishing Whispering Maples as a corporate entity. And Connie Goddard's, its receivership has been extended to, I think it's April 1st, but her expectation is that she will be finished pretty much in March. Kevin was there, I was there, Jason Dizon, the Ellenberg supervisor, Jim Coffey was there, and Connie came up as the receiver. So it went as it was to be expected. Nothing controversial, but just that's the next chapter. So as I said before, just keeping.
We should have a party for Connie, so I hope she's done
You know, she's a remarkable person. I mean, she just very caring. I go back to noting that when she first took on this role, it was supposed to be approximately a 90-day receivership.
Not 90.
Not 90
months.
years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
90,
Yeah.
90 extensions.
Yeah. So, which is pretty remarkable, and she has
You know,
said.
1 day is as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as a day, so there you go.
Exactly. All along, she said, I want to stick with it until we do it and do it right. And, you know, just kudos to her. So as, you know, as we do wrap things up, we will find an appropriate way to show our appreciation and thanks. She did lovingly say, I do not want anything named after me. So, she said, I spent a lot of time here, and, but, you know.
Yeah, tell her
and-
duly noted.
Yeah, so, all right,
Okay.
draft materials, minutes. I do want to go back to, we did motion to have the Imperial Dam on the Saranac River tabled. I know that this was still under draft, so rather than pull it off the floor completely, do we still need some time for consideration on this?
Yeah,
Yes.
Chuck and I discussed
Okay.
we'd like some time.
Yes.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just hold this as a carryover to next week's meeting then,
Okay.
for consideration. If there's any more, you know, drafting, polishing, you know.
We requested and just received a copy of the city's
Just today.
resolution, so we just wanted to try to somewhat mirror and follow, so,
Okay.
yes,
So no problem,
next
so-
week would be fine.
Yep, I'll work with you on that, Chuck.
Put that next week. There is material request to attend the active sludge wastewater treatment process for Matthew Rabideau and Stephen Waldron. Then there is a travel request for the assessor to attend certification conference, assuring that he gets the last of his annual credits. And then there's the Battlefield Seeker, part 1 and 2. And then the item that I wanted to go to make sure that Kevin had a chance to talk about is the dog control officer position. Kevin, you want to give us a little bit of rundown?
Well, we have Kaylee Lombard Mills, who Michael and I met with and talked to. We discussed the demands of the job, we discussed everything, including, you know, what's involved, and I, being the former judge and not understanding what dog agriculture and markets law is, I kind of semi-quizzed her, and she passed in flying colors. So, she is seems to be a very capable individual.
What is your availability?
Well, I'm a funny guy. She said she answers all her phone calls. So, of course, when I call from the town of Plattsburgh, the town of Plattsburgh phone number comes up. So I called her from my cell phone to see if she would answer the phone. Because a lot of people don't answer phones that they don't know because they might be robocalls or marketing calls. So I called her just for fun, and she answered. She picked it up, and she answered. Can I help you, or who is this, or, and I said, this is Kevin from the town of Plattsburgh, just checking to see. And she didn't know my phone. But I mean, I think availability and responsiveness is what we need in that position, and I think she can do this.
So she's not tied up each day?
She has a very flexible job. She is the dog control officer for Champlain, Rouse's Point, is that
I
right?
think that's what it is.
And Keene. Well, Keene is not doesn't take that much of her time, but she is also a real estate agent. Well, that's a tremendous amount of flexibility. And this is a job that she can do. She lives about 25 minutes away, but that's not any worse than somebody who's working a full-time job. But she has an outstanding background. She has a little bit of a law enforcement background, so that helps as well.
How do you know her?
I really didn't know her until I met her.
She reached out to us expressing an interest to do this a while ago because Dave had expressed that he was looking to potentially step out of the role. And then you may remember that the county was exploring the possibility of taking over dog control overall. She was at the sheriff's department at the time, and I think she was a leading candidate for that role, so she knew that some towns were in need of some additional services or opportunities, so she just kind of kept herself out there and said, hey, I heard through the grapevine that there may be an opening, so.
One thing that impressed me though, she said, you know, if I'm not in town, she has a great working relationship with the other dog control officers.
That's good.
So she says, if I go away, I'm not in town, we spell each other. And that's kind of nice because if she takes a day or two off or some time off, she can connect to another dog control officer and we don't lose any coverage.
Did you call references? Anyone in
We
Russell?
we haven't gotten that far yet. We gotta do a background check.
Yeah.
But
Right.
that would be after, the resolution's passed. But she did work at the sheriff's department as a dispatcher, part-time. Again, she's a full-time, she's a real estate agent, and she does 2 different towns as far as her dog control.
How long has she done dog control?
Since 2014 with Longo.
Very much, yeah.
Do you have a recommendation for her pay rate, or are you?
At this point in time, I have been researching
Okay.
and seeing what comparable towns, with comparable populations to the town of Plattsburgh, what their rates are. And as soon as I get all the information I want, if anyone wants to know, I can make it available to you.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
No,
Appreciate-
sounds very good,
Yeah,
Kevin.
sounds
Thank you,
Very,
Kevin.
very
The-
encouraging.
The big thing that I wanna carry out there is, this individual will be on a 1-year probation too.
Mhm.
So,
Which is good.
I mean, that's, if it's not working,
Yeah.
I don't know if I can't remember honestly, if she shared it or not, I think she has. She is looking something that's comparable to one of her current places of employment. So that will give a sense for it. And Dave's, amount of pay, you'll remember, he has held that frozen for the last 2 or 3 years too.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask that question.
So we may need to make some adjustment to get somebody in, but we won't have to send away her to training either. So,
Okay, yeah, that was one of my questions.
where was it
Okay,
going?
thank you.
Request to purchase vehicle for Parks and Recreation. I think there was some interest in having some conversation with them coming up with that. That's the draft material. Is there anything for committee reports?
Well, Chuck and I met with Scott on Tuesday for our monthly water meeting, just kind of ran down the capital plan updates. Everything seems to be on schedule there. Waiting on Suez, the contractor, for a couple of projects, and then waiting on the state actually for permits for Bay Courier. And it was a pretty light agenda. But
Yeah.
Scott's always got things pretty well under control.
Yeah, I know she has been out to look at the two lift stations, to try to figure out when they're gonna start work with Trade Road and, well, the other one's out in Connecticut,
Yeah,
right?
we had the pre-construction meeting with them, reviewing expectations and how they could potentially mobilize.
When was that?
It was last week or the week, I think it was before New York City, actually.
Right, so he said we were just, they're waiting on the state.
Yeah. Yep.
We did meet with, Mel and Aaron also, for recreation, and they've had a busy winter. I don't know if people noticed, there's a couple of front page pictures.
Mm-hmm.
The one with the drone shot where they were doing the snowshoeing in Cable, it was kind of a neat shot. And they actually did one snowshoeing moonlight event a few weeks ago. It was below zero, they had 43 people. At the time, it was like, when they started, it was 3 below zero.
And imagine if it was cold out.
Yeah, I was just
Yeah.
gonna say.
Yeah, so they're kind of wrapping up their winter stuff and now rolling over
5 of
towards.
them were in the hospital with frostbite.
But they're rolling over towards the spring stuff too, and, I know they're moving forward too with Trevor in regards to Champlain Park and the park up there. So,
And they have the May Courier building, not May Courier, East Morrisonville.
East Morrisonville. I did swing over and take a look at that, if you get a chance to take a look at that.
Building is totally redone. Mel said it's stunning. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I did, I stopped over and took a look at it.
Yeah, I tried to stop by, okay, I'll stop by.
Buildings and grounds guys completely redid the inside,
Mhm.
gorgeous, very nice work.
Tom and I met with the Justice Court team, so they're busy. We tried to get a sense of how the Association of Towns training went. Obviously, the hot topic button is bail reform, so we just asked them for some insight to that in terms of, what was the load of paperwork, and there definitely is more paperwork with that in terms of justifying reasons for bail. So I won't go into that. They talked about also the rules of discovery, in terms of presenting evidence. They're looking at some grants, hopefully, for some things down there, as far as, I don't know if it's a grant related. We talked about something that was brought up a little while ago on translation services, in using technology to help them with translation services. Right now, they use individual people, which is great. We have resources here in our community, believe it or not, people that can speak several languages. So, other than that, Tom, is there anything that you wanted to add to that?
No, it's just, the new law creates more paperwork and more time consuming on the paperwork in order to meet the new regulations, whereas you had one page for if you were used for bail at one point, you just have to check a few things. Now you have to do 3 pages and you have to justify why that's happening, why you're doing it, and there aren't very many things you can justify. So therefore the cases keep coming back, and that adds to the number in the court as well. So I'm not saying that we have to do something, but if the law continues and they don't have any modifications, we may have to look at staffing in the court.
Is Jackie still part-time?
She is.
Yes, she is.
I'm going to, I'm hearing a lot through the other supervisors and what's going on in Albany, and I think you're going to see a significant change to bail reform. And I'll go so far as to say, I personally believe there needs to be a lot of changes to bail reform, and I think the sentiment is that the cart was way before worse on that, and people are recognizing it.
Of
Well,
course.
Yeah.
Yeah, several other towns are passing resolutions.
Yeah.
Just to make it known, we might wanna think about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
As far as administration, just the administrative part of it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it's probably gonna occur in the budget process too.
Oh, okay.
I don't think you're even gonna see it as a quote-unquote legislative action. I think what is gonna happen, it's gonna be one of those chips that becomes, closer to April 1st than it is towards the end of the legislative session. I could be wrong.
And I appreciate your comment, Meg, on the administrator. That's where we were focusing on our meeting on yesterday, yesterday evening, was on the administrative, what burdens might be foreseeable, in case we do have to discuss staffing resources.
In particular, bill and that they passed for this, they didn't have a commission that lasted a year like they did for changing the election laws. They just was in the governor said this, and they didn't really go through it and investigate it and have different parties come in who are experts and say what we're best. So it's gotta do something like that.
One of the questions I talked to Pamela St. John about was in terms of, sometimes when this happens, it's just, Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong, but how many times are you gonna touch the folder? So maybe there's an individual folder that in the past, maybe you were able to touch it once, now you touch it 3 times. So, because when we went in there, they had, Pamela usually has her desk pretty well organized, but she had, stack here and crisscross there, and so I presented the question, how many times do you have to touch the folder? So, that's oversimplifying it,
That's a good
Kevin.
point, that's a good point.
That's the other thing too.
And they had some long jury trials, right? It's a jury trial, it's 11 hours.
11 hours.
Of course, my colleague here picked that one up in the audit, so it was a question to see why they had so much, or, because we're paying $50-something an hour. So that's another one of those things that we've talked about before, and that really, at some point, if there's any possibility of changing something. That's it.
Anything else? Maybe I have a question for you,
Space.
actually.
Space.
I know that when we had Brian here, we had explored the possibility of having him come talk with your group. Is that something that you?
Oh, I've been kind of putting out feelings to see if people are interested.
Okay. Any interest?
Yeah.
Some.
Okay.
I mean, if they are, they are, and if they aren't, they aren't, but
I talked to someone today and, oh, well, they do that every 3 years. Okay.
I mean, I just wanted to make sure that as
Yeah.
we're, continuing to have conversations with him and others, that, that
Yeah.
we provide
Yeah.
and encourage that type of activity
agree.
and such.
Well, it's, when you start getting into numbers, people don't have a clue, so, I shouldn't say that, but
No.
oftentimes they don't.
But you said Brian has a
Yeah,
capability of being able to.
he's very good at
introduce
being
layman
able to
language.
explain
Yeah.
why you want 100% and why, how taxation is related to assessment. People don't really know that, they pay their mortgage and it's gone and nobody thinks about it, and that's that.
Mhm.
And, they don't think about taxes and assessment and being a package, which it is. And he can explain it very, very clearly, so.
On the last point, I just remembered, they're hoping that more space will become available for their records if the town clerks has some room, because they're out of room for the court.
No interesting. In fact, I'm seeking a grant, which I am. As soon as I started this job, I attempted to reach out to try and, I'm seeking a grant from the archives people in New York, so that we can redo the vault, and there's 2,200 square feet, and I've already had some site surveys, and we're trying to get it, it needs attention, and badly. And so I'm working hard with a grant to get enough funding so that we can turn the 2,200 square foot jigsaw puzzle and make it so that everybody has access to it and everybody can understand it. And we have it, and we make good use of our MU1 schedule. According to the person I'm in contact with, Marie McCashin, I think it was 2004 was our last grant, so we might have a shot at getting this grant. So it really needs attention.
One of the things, Tom, about the potential changeover is where the court is situated and where the vault system, the vault is reorienting the court's materials to the back end of the vault and putting a cage across it, so it's still separated because it needs to be. But that's gonna take coordination to pull up and kind of switch things around.
All right,
Yeah, because there were some concerns about access and if folks from upstairs had to go by the window for the court versus going in that back door where the court records are now, so they could come straight through, so.
Yep.
I think there's
and
a lot of.
concerns about access for when they're not there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That they,
well, it's keyed different. Their space is now has been keyed different, so, I think Kevin, as town clerk, is the only other person, that can get into that space. But the at-large members, of the staff that had the keys.
yeah, that's much better, but this store tech, with the computers, you can get into their files and stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, they can get into that system,
So
but
those
that's,
people needed to be,
but that's why they're insured and the various, some of our infrastructure in this building, unfortunately, is not, I mean, I'll go so far as to say, not many government buildings, if you were to build them today, would have glass sliding doors in them. It's just, it's an older building, and we're challenged by some of that, so, we can try to remedy it, but not all of it will be as easy, so. Anything else? All right, we'll adjourn at 6:21. Drive safe, everyone.
Stay home.
just a